Today, we're going to look at our gospel reading for a little while and do some reflection around that. And I'd like to look at the text, in particular, looking at some words from Thomas. But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." I will not believe. In our church, as Christians, especially around this time of year, we are in a season of great celebration as we're celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. And this particular text just makes me wonder about not the occasion and the reason for us celebrating, but looking more in depth at why we believe what it is that we believe. This story really resonates with me because it challenges me in ways that other stories within our gospel don't. And it challenges me at the very core, asking me to question what it is that I believe. And so today I'm going to take a risk, and I am going to question your belief. And I'm going to ask two questions. What do you believe about Jesus? And how do you identify with him? What do you believe about Jesus? And how do you identify with him? I'm just going to pause and let that sink in for a second and give you some time to reflect on that. In our story today, Jesus appears to the disciples, and it is an occasion that fills them with so much joy and peace. And when you go through it, it's just interesting to see the way in which Jesus is interacting with the disciples and the way that the disciples are interacting with Jesus. I'm always tickled by the part in that episode where Jesus breathes on them and says, "Peace be with you." But that's not the most profound part of our lesson. What brings great profundity to the gospel of today is his interaction with Thomas. Or rather, at the beginning, the lack of interaction with Thomas. The other disciples had an opportunity to see Jesus. Jesus appeared to them in a room when they were at their worst point, when they were fearful. And then Thomas rejoins that merry band, and they say to him, "We've seen the Lord." And for some reason, Thomas he's not convinced. This is where he makes that statement. "I will not believe." It sounds like some type of willful pride, but when we look a little closer at it, it's not. It's a statement of where he is at that particular point in time in his journey. And he honestly and quite courageously defies the temptation to go along with the flow, to go with the crowd, and he he says, I will not believe until, or rather unless, I see Jesus for myself. That is where I wonder, as Christians, as believers in Jesus, what is it that we believe about Jesus? And how do we identify with him? For Thomas, he needed the evidence to persuade him and to convince him that Jesus was there. And so did the disciples. They needed that as well in order to gain some reassurance. And somewhere along the passage, Jesus makes the proclamation. He says, blessed are those that have seen and believe, but really and truly blessed are those that have not seen and yet believe. And when I match that against what has happened to Thomas and the other disciples, it really makes me wonder, how is it that we can believe in a Jesus that we have not seen? We live in a world where we are challenged with so many things that bring fear and anxiety into our lives. We suffer. We go through traumatic experiences. And these are the things that shake the very foundation of what we truly believe. And so I resonate so well with Thomas, because there are times when we go through things and it, in a way, robs us of our faith, robs us of our belief. It shakes it. It makes it very shaky, to the degree where we sometimes struggle. One of the things that I have had to become very comfortable with in my own faith journey is the struggle that I experience from time to time in my own faith. Whether it's due to some traumatic event or some expectation that was not met, I struggle. And now I've come to a point where I am not ashamed of that anymore. The struggling in my faith and in my belief has been the very thing that has helped to shape my belief. It's ironic that the times when I have felt as if it's been difficult to believe in the resurrected Jesus, that those were the times when the resurrected Jesus appeared. It's like a pendulum that swings back and forth. I'm actually proud to say that I am a struggling Christian, and maybe that is a posture that it is a posture that we must attain to, that we must seek. We must seek to struggle, because sometimes it is in the struggle that we receive the answers. It is in the struggle that we receive assurance. It is in the struggle that we come into a greater awareness of who God is and where God is in our lives. Today I want to come back to that question I asked earlier. What do you believe about Jesus? And how do you identify with him? In our creed, we say over and over again, we believe. But what do we actually believe? How does Jesus truly show up in our lives? When does he show up in our lives? And when those experiences occur, how does that shape our faith? For me, it is one where I become even more curious as I journey with Jesus. For me, it is one where my awareness increases day by day, where I realize that whether Jesus is absent in the space or whether he appears to me, that he's always there. That he's always there. How does Jesus show up for you? Amen.